We have come together to pay tribute, to say words of eulogy for our beloved Vladimir ben Avram and Chana, the son of Avraham and Chana. By right, there should be a military tribute, of course. He was a military officer for many, many years. But like Boris says, we're in America, we're not in Russia. And so we understand in our heart a devoted soldier he was to protect his people, his family. Life is a journey of the soul. For Jewish people who received the Torah from God on Mount Sinai, we understand clearly the sacredness of a father and a mother, how special they are. It was on Mount Sinai when God revealed the Torah to the Jewish people. He said, honor thy father and mother. We must respect, honor the father and the mother. It was always a custom in a Jewish home when the father, the first time in the day the father would come home, the children would stand up. They would never sit in the father's chair or the mother's chair. It would be left open for the father, the mother, out of respect. In the Hebrew, the word for honor your father and mother is, in the Hebrew term, kabed. Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. The word kabed in Hebrew means to honor, but it has a dual meaning. The word kavod also means weight. W-E-I-G-H-T. Pressure, weight. The heaviest organ in the body, the liver, is called the kabed in Hebrew. What is the relationship between the commandment of God to honor the father and the mother and heaviness, weight? And one explanation is because when we understand who our Father is, we understand the pressure upon us, the responsibility upon us, His friends, relatives, descendants, the pressure that we have to live up to, the greatness of that human being, what Vlad was, is now expected from us. The devotion, the love, the responsibility, the commitment, the faith, that's upon us now to emulate and to copy and to follow. God created the universe, the cosmos, the world, to give us an opportunity to earn spiritual rewards. That's the Yiddishkeit, that we're here to glorify God and to be good human beings, the best we can be. And in Kabbalah, the mysticism, we know the souls were by the throne of God before they came to this world. God could give them eternal bliss, but they would be ashamed because they didn't earn it. It would be what we call a handout if God gave them spiritual pleasure. So God sends the soul down to the greatest challenge, to an earthly world that He created. And He puts the lofty neshama, the lofty soul, a piece of God Himself. We know the human being is created in God's image. God takes a piece of Himself and puts it in a container, a physical container. The neshama, the soul, the word shame, name, is in the word neshama because the person's name is the spirituality that he spreads in the world. He makes himself a good name, like Vladimir made for himself and his family. And the purpose of our short life is to overcome the challenges that we face, to earn our connection eternal to God. And the rabbis tell us this world is like a corridor, a hallway to the essence of life, to the world to come, where we continue to elevate ourselves higher and higher to be close to God. That's not something we could experience in a physical body, and that's the life of the soul. And that's why it's an overwhelming task today upon me, upon the family, to try to give you over some of the beauty of this human being that we have lost. And we've not just lost a great member of our people, but we've lost a time period, a connection to the past. Like Boris said, we're not in Russia anymore. I'm not there. My family left a long time ago. Your families came here. And our connections to the past, we lose them unless we connect with them and create a firm bond. So I'm going to attempt to try my best to give you over a little bit of this beautiful person and his family. And I ask Vladimir forgiveness because it's really an impossible task. Just even to explain his beautiful punim, his countenance, to be able to have been able to look at his face and to see that twinkle in his eye and that beautiful smile. How could we give that over? Vladimir was born July 15th, 1933. It was Shabbos Kodesh. It was Shabbos. He was born to Avram, his father, and Chana, his mother. Avram's parents were Surke and Yankel. It means Sarah. Sarah is Surke, Sarah. That was Avram's father was Yankel. And Vladimir's mother was Chana. Her father was Yitzchak. Her maiden name was Melamed. Melamed means a teacher. Melamed is one of the names of God. We say about God each and every day in the prayers, HaMelamed Torah la'amo Yisrael. God teaches Torah to his nation Israel. And even though so many thousands of years have passed since we came into existence, we're in the year 5776. And Avraham, our forefather, was born in the year 1948. And yet we maintain our connection to our past. We cherish it and we emulate it. He was born in Pervomaisk, Odessa province. His father, Avram, was a restaurant director. His mother, Surke, was at home with the children, but during the war, she was a welder, and she worked as a welder. Vladimir has a beautiful sister. I've had the privilege to meet her. She's here with us today. Roselia, it's Razel, Narodovich, Vladimir's older sister who helped to raise Vlad. And Vladimir was born in difficult times, unimaginable times. 1933, already the friction. We know the Nazis were coming to power already beginning in the early 30s. And then the war broke out and the family evacuated Odessa in 1941, and they went to Kyrgyzstan. It was a very traumatic time for Vlad, although his family gave him a lot of love and encouragement. But he saw things that an American 8-year-old certainly never sees. He was 8 years old when he was in a train traveling with the family, and there was bombing around the train, and they stopped the train to come off the train because when there's an aerial attack, you must stop the train. And on the platform where they stopped, there was salt. All over the platform there was salt, Salz. And that left an impression on Vlad, that event, that he never forgot, and he shared that with his family. And his difficult younger years implanted within him an appreciation for everything he had. He could even savor a hot glass of water. He celebrated a hot glass of water. Sometimes his daughter-in-law, Margarita, she would ask, "Can I give you something, fancy tea?" He said, "No, I like the white rose." What was his white rose? A glass of hot water. Heiße Wasser. Das für him given a white rose. For him, that was a special drink. He appreciated the small things in life. Because he had evacuated and the family fled because of the war, he was not able to start school on time. Back then, children started school at 8 years of age. And he started at 9 because he lost a year fleeing, running away. He was in evacuation with the family for 4 years. And then a great turning point in his life, a special event. We call it Bashert, meant to be. He met Esther, his wife-to-be. He was 18 years old, and I think she had been a grade higher in the higher school, and she met him. What happened was, it was the summer of 1951. Esther and her family is from Sverdlovsk, right? Sverdlovsk. And Ekaterinburg, the South Bug River. And Esther went with her friend Zoya. And Esther and Zoya they traveled together to visit family in Odessa. I guess Zoya had family in Odessa. Esther went along. And one of the accomplishments that Esther wanted to accomplish was to learn how to swim. She had to learn how to swim. It was a requirement, I think, right? So she found herself by the river with Zoya trying to learn how to swim, and she was having a challenging time. And right at that time, it happened to be Vladimir was in the area with a friend of his, and somehow he had an old pail, and he filled the pail with air, turned it upside down, went into the river, and he taught Esther how to use the pail as a float to help her to learn how to swim. It's a marvelous story and an amazing metaphor, because they swam through life together for many, many decades, overcoming so many, many challenges. Well, Esther used the pail, and the pail was burnt on the bottom from what its normal use had been. And when she took the pail off, finished swimming, she had a black beard from the ash, the soot of the pail. But that was the first time that they met. Then later on, Esther went with her friend to a dance, and there, Vladimir was there, and Vladimir came over to Esther and he said, "May we dance? Can I spend time with you?" And Esther didn't recognize him because she had only seen him with the bathing suit on, no clothing, by the river. Now he was probably dressed in a suit. Esther said, "Who are you?" He said, "Don't you remember the boy by the river with the pail?" And then she remembered and recognized who he was. So they got together then, and August 1st, 1951, then Esther went back to Sverdlovsk, when she went back, it was a 4-day trip from Sverdlovsk to Odessa. And when she went back, Vladimir asked for the mailing address so he could write her letters. And so she didn't want the letters to come to her home. She wanted to keep it a little bit secret. So she had them go to the post office in Sverdlovsk. She gave him the address of the post office. Well, when Vladimir wrote the letter, he wrote the letter in a way that it appeared like he was writing Esther and her friend together. So she wasn't sure if he's courting her or he's courting her friend. Who is he writing to? But she had to write back in secret. It was part of the plan to try to keep the relationship quietly. And she wrote back Vladimir, and then he wrote back that he was writing to her and that he would like to keep a correspondence with her. Esther's parents, Chaim Tevye and Miriam Chaya, they loved her very much and wanted the best for her. And maybe she was afraid that she's too young to write letters to a boy. She kept it secret for a while. But eventually, Vladimir finished military school, and he and his family spent time in Moscow with her family for a number of days. They both had family there, and they met. And then Esther spent a year as a teacher, school teacher, I believe, school teacher in Siberia, in Sibir, for a year, a school teacher. And on November 12th, 1955, Vladimir came to visit Chaim Tevye, Esther's father, and to see Esther. And that was a changing time in their lives. I was amazed how Esther remembers the dates so clearly, like it happened yesterday. And I knew if you ask her what time it was, she probably could tell you the time of day also. It's so clear in her mind. Well, Esther was hoping Vladimir would propose to her, but he wasn't sure if Esther wanted him. So he asked Miriam Chaya, Esther's mother. He said, I'd like to propose to Esther, but do you think she wants it? And Miriam Chaya said, of course she wants it. It's Avada. Well, they were wed, they got married, and from thereafter their commitment to each other and the family was really legendary. They traveled because Vladimir had a military job. He had to travel a lot. They overcame many obstacles. It was said there's a difference of opinion in the family. Like the Jewish Talmud, rabbis always disagree, interpret the verse this way, we interpret it that way. But it sounds like most people say Boris was in 10 schools and Gena was in 5 schools. That seems to be the consensus, which is really amazing when you think about it. Children today, they need such stability and consistency, and that these two young men were able to thrive in different schools the way they did. It really bespeaks about a certain discipline and love that this father, Vladimir, of blessed memory, and to separate Esther, who should have a long life, that they were able to provide the children, that the children should thrive, even though they were in so many different places, so many different schools. It's really an amazing feat. And the places they traveled to were not resort areas. They were places where it's very cold and inclement weather. Esther would take the coal to heat the home because Vladimir was very often away. He was on a mission. He was with the military. Esther would have to feed the furnace on herself to put the coal, shovel it in. There was no Dominion East Ohio to supply the heat. Gena was born in Tambov. It's a swamp. I actually found a picture of the swamp. This is the swamp area that Gena was born in. Can you imagine? Consider that, I'm not saying he was born in the swamp. We don't mean that. But you understand that you're traveling to such places. When Esther was giving birth, there was no Hillcrest Hospital on the corner down the street, right? And so Gena was born there in Tambov, and Esther, unfortunately, she got tuberculosis. But once again, this family shone bright. They showed their bravery and their devotion to each other. Each of the parents of the father and the mother, they took a child. Gena went to Sverdlovsk, and Boris went to Odessa, and Razel was there. Razel was there when Boris was in Odessa. She was a presence in his life. And finally, once Vladimir was able to find an easier work, he was a radio engineer, he managed stations, he was always devoted to his family and did all that he could to help them through the times that they grew up in. He was able to see his children married in Russia. Gena came to America together with Margarita, or you know her as Rita, in 1989. Boris and his parents came in 1991. And now we have each a spouse, Boris and Yelena, Gena and Rita. And that's a great joy for a father to be able to see his children married with loving spouses and a family. It's something very special that he was able to celebrate. And he did celebrate it. He celebrated it every day. The family wants to express thanks to the Almighty that Vladimir was able to be at Michael and Sasha's wedding, Anna's marriage to Dan, Anna's bat mitzvah, Maya's bat mitzvah. And Boris and Gena, they really could not say enough about their father. They loved him so much, of course, and he loved them so much. He was a serious man, but he was very playful. They would play wrestle. I think Gena even broke a finger one time. They were playing around. And they would play full boxing. Vladimir was quite a man of strength. I saw a picture that Esther showed me, and he actually quite muscular and a strong man. In his humility, many didn't know it, but he was. And he coached Boris really in the playful wrestling. He did such a good job. Boris became a champion wrestler. That's why yesterday when he had to leave, I didn't stop him because he's champion wrestler. And he brought the family a lot of pride and honor to excel. And he had the privilege of raising his grandchildren in America. And they got to see a very good man, their grandfather, a man we don't know of any enemies. He was a strong man. He held in his emotions. And Maya said even if something terrible happened, he was able to subdue his basic urge to grieve openly, and he remained strong and held in his emotion. He was a very patient person, and he stuck with the task to accomplish what he wanted to do. He would fix cars on his own, sometimes even complicated repairs. Brakes, or changing the oil, that was the easy thing. He did body work. He had many hobbies. He enjoyed fishing, and he loved to babysit with the grandchildren. He was a talented carpenter, and Rita told me that there was a changing table in the family. It's the changing table is when you have to change the baby. You know, baby needs a diaper change. So in order not to harm your back, it's a special table that's tall. He was able to modify the table to make it more usable and better. And to this day now, so far, the changing table has been passed to five other babies. They still have the table. With the help of the Almighty, it should pass many, many times again in the family. The table that Vladimir worked on with his own hands. He was a vegetable gardener. He enjoyed gardening, and it was a serious harvest. He took and he planted, and he brought fruit into the world. Esther said when she was 18, her sandal broke, the shoe broke, and he fixed it for her. He was an extremely well-rounded person, very much loved, very much admired. In his life, he got to visit many places. They visited Italy, they visited California, Arizona, Virginia Beach, and of course, many others. And today we come together to express our appreciation to him for who he was, for all of his self-discipline, for all of his devotion to the family. And I ask forgiveness from myself and from anyone else here who wishes to ask forgiveness. We ask forgiveness, Vladimir. We did not honor you according to your greatness. And we ask you to be a Melitz Yosher, an advocate for the family in the heavenly world. His son Gena would like to say a few words, and then followed by Anna and Maya.
To the beginning, a few clarification. I was not born in a swamp directly. It was actually not so big city, and it actually was pretty big city. But specifically, I think it was a translation problem, meaning like that particular house was in the area of the swamp, but Tambov actually was pretty big city. So, but beyond the story. Anyway, and why I'm starting that way, not just that. I'm trying to say that it was mentioned that my father was a pretty serious man, and but I would say he would if he would be alive, he would appreciate that humor, because he has like I mean, looking on that picture, it's like basically at the end of his career he became a colonel, which is actually pretty high for a Jewish guy, and so on, and you can say it's a serious, very accomplished person, but he has a good sense of humor, and and that's actually helped a lot. And hopefully, with Boris and the rest of the family got it. So because it doesn't matter which country you are, you can still have bad moments. You don't need to be in a swamp in a Tambov. You can have bad moments here, in certain situations. But that's one of the things I remember about him. So because the rest. Rabbi Karth already mentioned a lot. There is no point for me to repeat. The only thing I want to say he really, I don't remember anybody who didn't like him, basically. And another thing I usually say, I kind of repeating, but still, it's very seldom you can meet a person who kind of universally good, kind of, and universally talented. Like from point of view is, he never was auto mechanic. He was a military guy. He was like 32 years in the army, right? And even he was in telecommunication, but still he never dealt with the cars, except maybe his own at the end of close to the end of his life in town. But he was pretty good at that. He could fix, many things, not just for himself. A lot of things actually he worked on my car or Vita's car or somebody's car or whoever asked him. Or I think he helped his grandchildren with the cars when they needed and so on. So. And from another side, he also has a very good head. It's like combination of the very good brain and good hands. Not very often you can meet in one person. And he was also the person who you can talk with. Anyway, what I can say, it's like he was a very, very good man, and it's too bad that we lost.
So my sister made a really beautiful movie for grandfather to honor him, and she asked if I could just speak for both of us. When my sister and I sat together to relive stories about our grandfather, we laughed, we cried, and we remembered. There are too many stories to tell them all, but we did want to share a few stories that illustrate what an exemplary man our grandfather truly was. My grandfather was truly a jack of all trades, although in his case, he was a master of all. He could garden. He even gardened organically before it was the hip thing to do. He could fix cars, he fished, he cooked, and he was always picking up new hobbies. I would come home and he would be changing the oil in my car, and I never even knew it needed changed. He would take me fishing and patiently sit with me and let me know what a good job I was doing, even when I didn't catch any fish. In retrospect, I don't think I ever caught any fish. When my grandmother, whom I love, was being stern, my grandfather would never contradict her, but he would have a way around him that would somehow make it better, that would smooth out her edges. He never seemed to yell, and yet you always wanted to follow his suggestions. His first question to me was many times, "How is your car?" And then, how is the rest of your life? He always listened intently to your answers and really wanted you to succeed. He never seemed to judge, and instead always seemed to encourage, whether it was verbally or whether it was just obvious in his demeanor that he was proud. He himself accomplished a great deal, and yet was always eager to try new things. And he never seemed afraid of failure, but rather enjoyed the challenge of trying to figure it out. He was always tinkering with something. He never boasted, although there was much he could boast about. He was always the mediator, and always wanted everyone to be together. Whenever I saw him, he would always make it evident that he truly appreciated my visit. And later, after I met my husband, Dan, he always made him feel welcome. He made a special effort to be at my wedding, and I will always be thankful for that. There is no way to sum up in a few words everything that my grandfather accomplished and everything that he meant to all those that were lucky to have had him in our lives. But he was a one-of-a-kind person, and he will forever live in our thoughts. I would like to end with one quote. "If I am to wear this mourning cloak, let it be made of the fabric of love, woven by the fine thread of memory."
Vladimir's daughter-in-law, Margarita, will say a few words.
Я буду говорить по-русски, потому что я так хочу. Я не буду рассказывать жизнь, я просто расскажу два таких момента. Вот эта доброта, которую Володя, она какая-то совершенно была бесконечная и глубокая, просто такая маленькая зарисовка. Он очень помогал мне с мая, потому что мне нужно было выйти на работу в 6 недель. И вот я прихожу домой, ей уже где-то, наверное, месяцев 12. Она с ним делала все, что хотела. А вы помните, что он был подполковник или полковник? Полковник. Он был полковник. И вот я прихожу домой, и это шмалявка. То есть, естественно, я ее очень люблю. Вот все, что она хочет, на коленях, он все абсолютно делает. И я какую-то застала сцену. Я даже не помню, что, потому что явно это что-то было не опасное, потому что я не помню, что. Но я просто вошла и говорю: "Что вы делаете?" Он говорит: "Ну, она так хочет, или она это хотела, либо что-то покушать, либо какую-то игрушку. Ну, в общем, что-то безобидное, я не помню, что". Но я была ошарашена. Я говорю: "Почему вы не сказали нет?" Его ответ меня покорил. Она же расстроится. И это полковник, это 12-месячный ребенок, вы не могли сказать no, because she gets upset. То есть это И это не потому, что вот как бы вот такое показное, а это было настолько natural. Вот это уже сколько, Майе уже 15 лет, то есть это уже было 14 лет назад, но вот эта вот глубина не логики, а вот какой-то такой бескорыстной любви. Она she will get upset. Вот. А второе, конечно, что меня поразило, он был очень болен, и несмотря, когда каждый раз я приходила, он обо всех спрашивал, что у Виталика, что у Миши, что у Ани, что у Майи. То есть пока я не отчитаю все, что я знаю по каждому ребенку, он ничего не ответит ни на какие мои вопросы. И даже вот когда он уже был в госпитале, в ICU, как бы он был в полном сознании до последних 10 минут. И по губам было трудно понять, что он говорил, но он показывал по алфавиту. И ему трудно было, потому что он был очень слабый, и тремор. И вот он там спрашивал, и я говорю, а Аня, ее не было, она только должна была вернуться через неделю после того, что Володя попал в ICU. И там я говорю, что Майя приедет в воскресенье, Аня приедет в субботу. Вот мы приходим в субботу с Дэном и с Аней его навестить, и он оживает, открывает глаза, и даже такая полуулыбка, хотя он очень-очень болен. Это человек, у которого 5 IV, NG-тюб, CPAP. И вот ты видишь этот спарк и полуулыбки на этом лице. И потом, через какое-то время, я говорю, вы что-то хотите спросить, что-то хотите? Он показывает, что я дала ему листочек, и вот он по этому листочку мне показывает буквы там М, А, Я. Я говорю, моя. Я говорю, что моя, что вы хотите? Он мне это показывал вот так вот. М, А, Я опять. То есть я взрослый, разумный человек, была совершенно тупая. То есть меня заняло минут 7, пока я сообразила. Я говорю, Майя, вы спрашиваете, где Майя, когда она придет? Я говорю, она придет завтра, она только вечером приезжает. И вот она приехала в воскресенье, пришла к дедушке, и в понедельник он уже был совершенно другой человек. Вот он их дождался, вот он на них посмотрел, и вот как-то, то есть просто действительно вот это, может быть, это то, что ему давало силы, вот эта любовь. Потому что, наверное, когда ты больше отдаешь, ты этим как-то и сорешаешься, я не знаю, действительно очень-очень хороший человек. И мы вас очень любим.
Very heartfelt words. The times that I would see Rita with her father-in-law, her devotion is like a daughter to her father-in-law, to her mother-in-law, like a daughter. It's also a lesson. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai Roi Lo Yechsar B'Hinoi Steshe Yarbitzeni Al Memenuchoi Sinaleni Nafshi Shoivev Yancheni B'maglei tzedek Leman Shemo Gam ki elech B'geit Amoves Lo iraro Ki ato imodi שבטך משענתך, המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צוררי, תשענת בשמן ראשי, כויסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ידפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבייס אדוני לאורך ימים. A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. The Tiferes Yisrael, one of the great commentaries on the Mishnah, he teaches that the story of the butterfly is really a parable for the story of the soul. We know from our prophets, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the many others who communicated with God because they were great and holy men and women, that the time will come when God will restore life, when God will resuscitate our beloved by the good deeds that they performed. And such is the butterfly. It's a caterpillar that's crawling around, eating leaves, and then it spins a cocoon like a grave. And all the children look and see a caterpillar like a worm lying still, not moving. And it looks like it's finished, it's over with. And then time passes, and not only does the caterpillar revitalize, rejuvenate, but it returns in a much more striking creation. And so it will be at the time of Mashiach, Tchias HaMesim, when God will rejuvenate our loved ones, and we will get once again to celebrate with them. Please rise for the sacred Kel Mole prayer. El Mole Rachamim, Shoichein Bamrohimim, Hametzei Menucha Nechoina Al Kanfei Hashchina, B'Ma'elois Kedoshim U'Tehorim Kizoyar Harakia Mazirim, Es Nishmas Vladimir Ben Avraham Sheholach Lioilamoi, Bavur Shanachnu Mispalim Baraskaras Nishmasoi, Began Eden Tehei Menuchasoi, Lochein Bal Horachamim Yastireyo B'Seisek Nafav Lioilamim, V'Yitzror V'Yitzror Achayim Es Nishmasoi, Adonai Hu Nachalasoi, V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavoi v'noimar. Amen. God full of compassion who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the sheltering wings of your presence in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the heavens, to the soul of Vladimir, the son of Avram, who has gone to his world, and for whose memory we pray. May his rest be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring him under the cover of God's wings and bind his soul in the bond of life. May the Lord be his heritage, and may he rest on his resting place in peace. And let us respond, Amen. On my own behalf, I want to thank the family who, Esther is always so kind and loving, and they really took me in just to spend time and tell me all about their father, who I admired so much. He was a very great man, and I know we will all remember him and try to capture some of that greatness and to internalize it and to become better people to emulate his attributes. You may be seated. At this time, we're going to ask the pallbearers to come forward, and the burial is going to be at Sinai on Sam Center Road.